Yo, what is up guys, Gray here, and today we've got our UPBA draft analysis, a new league coming to the channel. I guess it's not really a new league, but there was only about 4 weeks of season 1 that actually came up onto the channel, so I'm going to kind of count it as a new league. First off, I'd like to apologise for this being up so late. Work has just been absolutely killing me. We've got a new dog as well, so we are currently, like, my hands are completely full with everything, as well as BBR playoffs and UPA playoffs. There's a lot that has been going on, and I've just not had a lot of time. So yeah, it's a little bit late. This should go up on the same day as week 1. Hopefully I'll post this first and then week 1 afterwards. But I think even on this day, it's probably going to go up late. So yeah, I can only apologise, but there's just a lot going on at the moment, and my time is very much... well, time is just not on my side. Anyway, getting into the draft. So, UPBA is actually my own league. I run it with a really good group of admins. Like some of the people that I've been in leagues with forever, a couple of new people that I've only just really met, but I get on really well with them, and I think they bring a lot to the league. So, really looking forward to this league, and we have a great group of coaches. You can see all their logos down below. You might not notice every single one of them, but most of these coaches, it's a bit of a meme in the league that it's basically like UPA and IPA have just kind of blended together for one big league. It kind of is a bit like that. There is coaches from other leagues as well. We've got coaches from BBR, but most of those BBR coaches are also in UPA, so take that as you will. But we've also got some great coaches from outside of those leagues. You've got Lars, aka Anaylsis, who is doing his first Wi-Fi English league, I think in Gen 8. I don't think he's done one at all in Gen 8. I think it's just been all German. We've got Aquarius, who is a fantastic battler, and they are just starting up on their Wi-Fi, like Wi-Fi stuff in their channel, because they just got a Switch and a capture card. On top of that, we've got people like trying to look for KJ, who I don't think has been in IPA, I could be wrong, and Goki as well, I think was from outside of those leagues. I could be wrong again, like he may have been in IPA, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, yeah, point is, we've got a great group of coaches. I'm really happy with the roster we've managed to get this season. And yeah, you can see from the graphic down at the bottom of the screen where we were in the draft order. We were right in the middle, we were 10th. So we couldn't have picked for a worse spot really. It means we had like 20 picks either side of us, and we just kind of had to wait forever. So it wasn't the most fun draft for me, but at the same time you kind of take the rough with the smooth. Other leagues that I've had pretty good draft picks in recently, so I can't complain too much. But I'd definitely rather be at the end of the draft than be in the middle, but it is what it is. You kind of just have to accept where you are and make the best of the situation. I think we really have. I really am looking forward to using this team. It's a little bit different from what I'm used to. Some mons that I've never used before, some that I'm actually really comfortable with. But yeah, the way that we work in the UPBA is that we have 120 points to spend, and we have a, like, I guess S tier bracket. Between 18 and 16 points, you can only draft 2 mons from that tier, those tiers even, or those points tiers, whatever you want to call it. That's basically just for balancing reasons. We want to make sure that everybody gets 2 mons that are already, like, kind of considered top tier, but also that no teams get like super broken or anything like that. Of course, things in like the 15 point tier and below, still there's some really good stuff there, but we don't make it that if you got like a certain draft pick, you were just unable to pick like something that's really good. But also, like in a third round, the teams that were at the top of the draft order don't necessarily get like the massive benefit of being able to pick up like a third quote unquote like A tier, S tier, whatever we would call it, and have to deal with like the rest of the draft. So yeah, that's our way of balancing things, and I'm just going to get straight into it. I don't think there's much more else to go into. So with our first pick, we picked up Celesteela. And if you don't know what Celesteela does, it does pretty much everything. Not literally. Sadly, it doesn't get any hazards or defog, which does kind of suck for my flying type and my rock type. But honestly, this thing is so versatile. It's got a fantastic move pool that it doesn't necessarily matter. I can make up those hazard removal and hazard options later in the draft with other picks. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too worried. First pick, I wanted to use something that I had never used before, and I've actually never used Celesteela. It seems like something that I wouldn't say it looks like a ton of fun, but it looks like it's a really difficult Pokemon to deal with. Certainly when I faced it, it can be really annoying. Its weaknesses aren't can easily be checked. I think that's like the main thing. Fire and electric being its two weaknesses are you can build a team that definitely checks those, and Celesteela honestly can just win games, be it offensively or defensively. It can just win games by itself. So well, not by itself, but once certain things have gone down, it can just win a game. Celesteela is just very bulky. I know it's defensive stats don't look incredible on paper, they look very good, but they're not super bulky, and its offensive stats are good as well. It has basically 5 stats above base 100 because its HP is 97. So yeah, it's really bulky, really good offensively as well. You can run autotomized sets with 3 attacks, you can run mix attacker, you can run leech seed, you can run that's pretty much about it, but that's all you need. With Celesteela, it's such a good mon that it just doesn't as long as it's got good team support, you're good. Next up, with our second pick, I want to pick something that synergized pretty well with Celesteela, and I want to pick up my dragon. And unfortunately, because we were so far into the draft, we had to pick up a couple of our first choices were obviously going to go. I think things like Latias, Latios. I don't know I think both of them went. And then my backup was okay, maybe I'll pick up something like Dragonite, I thought, but then realised that would leave me massively weak to ice. So I decided instead to go with Hydreigon, and I think Hydreigon actually synergizes really well with Celesteela. Celesteela being able to resist the Fairy, the Dragon, and the Bug type moves, 4 times resist the Bug type moves, is really nice for Hydreigon because it gives that really good type synergy, and also Hydreigon resists the Fire and the Electric moves, meaning that these two can kind of switch into each other's checks, or each other's offensive checks really well. And yeah, the two just synergize really nicely. Celesteela can be mainly physical, but it also has a perfectly good special move pool as well. Hydreigon is mostly special, but also has the ability to run physical, so neither of these are particularly put into one role. It does give me a defogger that isn't my flying type as well, but I don't know how often I want to be able to, or how often I want to run defog Hydreigon. It can definitely run that set. It can run defensive sets, both these things can run defensive sets quite comfortably. They can run offensive, Hydreigon could be Choice Specs, could be Choice Scarf, Nasty Plot, Dragon Dance. There's plenty of sets that it can run. It has plenty of coverage as well to be able to get through quite a lot of its checks by itself, but Fairy types are the main switch in for Hydreigon, and having Celesteela there is just fantastic for it. It definitely it gives me a really solid core to build off of, though that is my 2 top tier mons picked. I was really happy with the 2 that I got, and I started looking then at picking up some hazards, because I definitely wanted some rocks. I wanted potentially other hazards as well, so I set about getting good hazards, and also I want to keep good synergy with my mons. So next up I picked up Nidoqueen. And Nidoqueen is one of those that's really strong in Draft League format. I've used it before, and it's something that you can kind of build for every week and make it work. With Sheer Force, it's able to hit really hard even without a boosting item. And you can run it defensively, you can run it offensively. It does work as a Choice Scarfer as well. But it does hit incredibly hard on both the physical and the special side. It has a fantastic move pool because it's in Gen 1. And Gen 1, they gave everything all the moves, so it really takes full advantage of the Sheer Force. But it does also give me Stealth Rock and Toxic Spike, which is really nice for my team, especially if we come up against a team that doesn't have great removal. We can set up those Toxic Spikes, we can set up the Stealth Rock, and we just kind of wear teams away, especially with moves like Leech Seed on Celesteela. We're able to really kind of very passively, I guess, take down opponents, put them in range of things like Choice Scarf, Hydreigon, and I just really like that kind of synergy. Again, all of my mons so far can be used in various different ways. They're not set to one role, and I really appreciated that. However, I did feel like I didn't have some really good set bulk. Of course, Celesteela is incredibly bulky, and Nidoqueen can be bulky. Same with Hydreigon. Neither of them are dedicated checks to like dedicated switch-ins, like walls. That's the word I'm looking for, walls. None of them dedicated walls. So I wanted to then pick up Suicune. I think I had my eye on quite a few different water types, and I just decided that in the end I wanted to go with Suicune, just because I really like the way that it works. So you can run it as like a very defensive set with things like Roar, Protect. You can run the Sub-Protect Toxic set as well if you really want to be that guy. But it also has decent enough coverage that it can kind of cover a lot of its own checks as well. Access to things like Ice Beam and Air Slash, great coverage. Extra Sensory exists as well. So yeah, Suicune is one of those mons that I think has a lot more to do than just be like a defensive check or like a Calm Mind setup. You see a lot of Rest Talk sort of sets. Suicune just gives me like a good blanket check to a lot of things on my team, and at this point I'm not too worried about grass types. I got all the switch-ins to grass types. My ground type doesn't really care too much about grass types. My first two really kind of make people not want to bring them. So yeah, I felt like Suicune was going to be really nice on this team. The only thing that I'm a little bit worried about at this point is electric types, but I do have an electric immunity, and I do have an electric resistant Hydreigon. The only issue is that with Celesteela and Suicune, I do double up on my electric weaknesses on my walls. But yeah, like I said, Hydreigon and Nidoqueen both are able to kind of deal with that, and I do have other options later on that can deal with electric types as well. So at this point I think my team is looking super bulky, and but the one thing I'm lacking really is good hazard removal, and at this point I thought it was a good time to pick up my Fairy for my Dragonsteel Fairy Core. And I went back and forth on a few mons, and I decided in the end that I was going to pick up Hatterene, just because I hadn't used it before effectively, and it also gives me a hazard deterrent, not necessarily hazard removal, but just a deterrent because of Magic Bounce. Just kind of having this on my team, depending on what the hazard setter is, can really be a good deterrent and prevent people from wanting to click any kind of hazards against my team. However, it's not like a guaranteed way of doing it, so I definitely want to pick up more removal later on. But yeah, for now I was really happy to pick up Hatterene. It's a good bulky fairy type, but it hits super hard as well. Can be a good Trick Room user. My team could possibly take advantage of Trick Room at this point. Things like Celesteela and to an extent Nidoqueen, I guess, could be used in Trick Room. So it's always nice to have that option. I thought the Psychic Fairy type was really nice for my team. Dark types, I've got like very few checks for at the moment, but at the same time, like my team doesn't necessarily, it's not weak to dark types. Ghost types, I do have a resist in Hydreigon, as well as dark type, of course, with Hydreigon. I just thought this really nicely like rounded out my Dragonsteel Fairy Core. Potentially could have gone for a physical one, but I think it was just like a Azumarill that was left on the table in terms of physical fairy types, so I don't want to double up on water types this early, especially with already having an electric weakness with my Suicune and Celesteela. So yeah, I just picked up Hatterene. It was a really good mon. It's a really good mon for this team. Again, quite bulky, but gives me more of a dedicated special wall as well as giving me good special offense. Like it's almost one of my better special wall breakers. But my team is looking very special at this point. I will admit, team's looking super special and really lacked any kind of physical wall breaker. So I picked up the next piece in my Fire Water Grass Core and picked up Entei. Entei hits super hard with Choice Banded, Sacred Fires, Flare Blitzes, Extreme Speed. Just give me priority that I was really kind of lacking to this point as well. But also can be really good. Like I said, it can be defensive, very good defensively as well. With the pressure ability, it can run almost like a Suicune. We have got double dogs. It can also be run very similarly to like Suicune sets with the like sub-protect toxic things, or we can run Calm Mind. Does have some moves on the special side that it can take advantage of, like it gets access to Scorching Sands in this gen. So potential for Entei to work both ways, but realistically it was mainly here for like a physical wall breaker, and also to give me a really strong fire type, because ice types to this point were looking a little bit scary for my team, only Suicune being able to deal with them, and a lot of ice types nowadays have freeze dry, so I wanted to make sure I had a good switch good switch into to ice types in general. And I think Entei gives me a good one, especially being able to scare it out straight away with Sacred Fire. There's very few ice types that really want to stay in on that. So next up, we picked up Miltank, and Miltank was here because I really was lacking hazards at this point. Like, sure, I had Nidoqueen, but that's all I had. That's literally all I had. I guess you could count Hatterene if I was to happen to bounce back the any kind of hazards that gives me hazards, but yeah, so at this point I didn't really have too much in terms of hazards, and I really want to pick up Miltank because Miltank is super bulky. It gives me an ice and a fire resist with its Fix That ability, as well as a grass immunity should I need it, but I think my team is actually very good against grass types, so I don't think that necessarily we need to worry about Sap Sipper this season, but you never know, maybe the matchup comes up and we do need the Sap Sipper. But effectively we just want this for the Fix That ability and the Stealth Rocks, as well as being a really good bulky cleric on this team. Being able to Heal Bell is going to be really nice because my team is a little bit more on the bulky side, quite stally, so not being too worried about things like Toxic is going to be really nice. As well as that, it gets all the coverage that you could possibly need, so if you have any 4x weaknesses that you need to exploit, then Miltank could be really good at picking, like just having that move as a coverage move and being able to click that with no problem. Outside of Hydreigon, I didn't have much in terms of reliable recovery. Hydreigon, of course, getting Roost, so Miltank gives me a Milk Drink user, or the only Milk Drink user I believe in the game. So it does give me reliable recovery and just a generally very bulky normal type, and it does give me the Stealth Rocks that I desperately needed, because at this point I was looking at just having Nidoqueen with Stealth Rock, and realistically that's probably not enough, even in a gen where Stealth Rock is less important thanks to Heavy Duty Boots. It's always nice to have that option should you come into a matchup where, you know, Stealth Rock's going to be really good. So after that we pick up our electric type. I was back and forth as to whether I wanted to pick this up or not. There was other electric types that I was thinking about, but I decided in the end to pick up Galvantula. Again, this is something that I've never actually used before, and it seems like it's a really decent pick for this team. One thing that we do kind of struggle with a little bit is speed. At this point, our speed tiers are a little bit low, nothing above base 100 at this point. So I definitely want to pick up something that could slow down my opponent's teams, and Galvantula just seemed to fit the bill. Electric and Bug was like a couple of types that I really needed on my team, and effectively with a Sticky Webber, unless you pick up something like Slurpuff, you're always going to be picking up a Bug type, and Galvantula it was still there. It gave me a good speed tier, and also gives me another good special attacker, as well as just giving me that Sticky Web to hopefully slow things down if I don't want to run Trick Room, because Trick Room can be unreliable. I can run Sticky Web and really give my opponents something else to have to worry about, which is really nice. I think having so many hazards means that the other team has to really worry about running the defog. So yeah, I think Galvantula works really nicely on his team. Like I said, it gives me a nice speed tier, 108. Definitely needed something that was above base 100, because at this point I don't have anything above base 100, and yeah, Galvantula generally just really fit the bill nicely for this team. And yeah, moving on. Next up we picked up a 3-pointer in Girder. Girder gives us a defogger, it gives us a bulky fighting type, as well as a potential wall breaker with Flame Orb Guts sets. It's not as bulky, but it is effectively just a mini Conch Elder. And for 3 points I thought Girder was incredible value, and I just wanted to pick it up fairly early, because when I was looking at what was left, I was kind of looking at things like grass types. I was really wanting to pick up a decent grass type at this point, but honestly a lot of what I wanted just wasn't going to work for my team, or it was just a lot of the good ones are gone at this point. So I decided to save my grass type, because I didn't expect it to go. I don't nobody picks up this grass type that I was going to pick up. So I was fairly comfortable picking up Girder, that I thought had a better chance to go, because at 3 points it really is a steal. This one I've seen be MVP of a season before. Zombie and PTL managed to get this to MVP, and I still have no idea how he did it. But it's a really good one, really bulky, hits pretty hard as well, good recovery move in Drain Punch as well, especially with that Eviolite, able to recover a lot of HP, great coverage because it's a fighting type, access to things like knockoff and like all the elemental punches, and as well as Earthquake, Stone Edge, which is always good. Not to mention it does give me a defogger, which realistically at this point I desperately need a defogger. Like Hydreigon was the only thing that actually got defog, and honestly that's not enough unless I want to be running boots on everything every week. So yeah, Girder just kind of really fit this team nicely and gives me a good bulky fighting type that hits pretty hard on the physical side, because again, kind of lacking things to hit on that physical side. But next up we've got our Frostlass, and again this is just something I just wanted to use. I didn't really have too much reasoning behind it. I've never used Frostlass before. It seems like a very underwhelming Pokemon, but at the same time its ability to run physical or special fairly comfortably gives me spikes, it gives me Will-O-Wisp as well, it gives me a ghost type, so I have a spin blocker as well with all these hazards. And honestly, Frostlass just seems like an interesting one to use. It gives me the base 110 speed tier, which, albeit fairly common and not the quickest, is still a speed tier that is above what I currently have, and is also one that I think is always kind of needed, because there's a lot of 110s, 108s, 109s, somewhere around there, especially with the Swords of Justice around, like, they're all base 108, and having something that's quicker is always really nice. So Frostlass really was just kind of picked up because I was like, with the rest of my draft I was lacking a ice and ghost type. I was like, you know what, just pick up Frostlass. It's there, it's 7 points, which is probably a little bit expensive for it. Probably about right, I'd say, but yeah, some would say a little expensive. I just wanted to pick it up and give it a try. If it doesn't work, then I'll obviously trade it away. I'm very open to trading things, but Frostlass, yeah, it gives me a spiker, it gives me that hazard, so I've now got all the hazards, and yeah, spin blocker, Will-O-Wisp, Destiny Bond, all that kind of stuff, as well as a really nice dual stab actually in Ice Ghost. I think that's something that's really underrated, is the combination of Ice Ghost. It hits a lot of things offensively, two of the best offensive types in the game. So yeah, even though it's that's underwhelming, I'm hoping that it's going to be able to at least put in some work this season. And I'm going to take a quick drink. Okay, 2 picks left. We have 6 points, and I should have mentioned we could have stopped our draft here because we had to draft between 10 and 12 Pokemon, but I like to fill up the roster a little bit. Like, I definitely value low tier picks, and I think my next low tier pick is going to be a good one. Hopefully this is like our low tier MVP of the season. I picked up Lurantis, and Lurantis is something that you never see drafted. It's generally very underwhelming, I think, but it does give me a nice option. It gives me defog, of course, which again I desperately needed another remover, so having that in my Lurantis is kind of nice, especially because it switches in on things like rock types, ground types, steel types that tend to be the ones setting up the rocks. Having a defogger that can just kind of remove them immediately, super nice. I should have said the same about Girder. Like, my defogger switches into rock types and steel types really comfortably, and is able just to remove any kind of hazards they try to set. But yeah, Lurantis is my grass type for this season, and it's actually surprisingly good. Like, I think you can run a few sets, like Choice Scarf with Leaf Storm. It's not very quick, but at the same time, with the speed tier fits nicely. You can run Choice Scarf, Leaf Storm with the contrary ability able to boost our special attack. It also gets access to superpower, which means that on the physical side it can be much more bulky than it actually looks initially. And it also has a really decent move pool. It's not amazing by any means, but it does get access to things like Knockoff, Leech Life, Poison Jab. Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of, but it definitely gets other coverage moves as well. Lurantis is something that I definitely wanted to use once I decided that I kind of didn't want to pick up a higher tier grass type. I kind of got set on Lurantis, and I didn't expect it to go, which it didn't. And I'm excited to use it this season. It's one of those mons that it's low tier, it's not necessarily deemed very good, but then nobody really deemed Greedent that good, and I made that work. So hopefully Anaylsis can be like our Greenant for this season of the UPBA, and we're going to be able to do some big things with it, hopefully. But yeah, this is probably the most excited I am to use any of these mons on my team, and it's my 3-point Anaylsis. And then just to round out the team, I picked up Barbaracle, and honestly I don't know how I feel about this, but you know, it's here. I wanted a different water type, so I got a bulky water, and I needed a rock type, or I could have picked up a rock type. I wanted one more rocker for my team, potentially just in case like I wanted to not run Rocks Nidoqueen or Rocks Miltank, because you don't necessarily want to run them with Rocks every week. I decided to pick up Barbaracle, and Barbaracle gives me a different water type for them to have to prepare for. Gives me a Shell Smash Sweeper. It's very, very good on the physical side. Whilst obviously Suicune is just a very bulky, special, well, generally special attacking water type. So yeah, Barbaracle gives me something completely different. 4 times weakness to grass, but like I said, my grass type resists my entire team basically. Like I have absolutely nothing on my team that cares about grass types. So having Barbaracle, it really doesn't like give me any more weaknesses on that front. And yeah, it just gives me like another option. If I want to run like a Shell Smash sweeping set, then it's there. If I want it to run rocks, then it can be like a Rocks Lee or something. It has things that it can do, and I am excited to use it. I don't know how many weeks it's going to be coming to, but at the same time, you never know. Barbaracle could pop off. So it's just kind of here because it looked like the best thing in the 3-point tier, and it kind of fit my team. So yeah, there we go. That's going to be our team. I know it's not the best draft analysis. It's a little bit kind of rushed, but I don't have a whole lot of time before work. In fact, I've got 4 minutes before I have to get ready. So that's going to be the team. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know it's not the best team, but it's something that is a bit different. I'm excited to use it. So yeah, we face off against Trexo in week 1. I know he's got a pretty scary team, so it's not going to be an easy matchup. A lot of the teams in this draft were really, really scary. I'm looking forward to facing all of them, but at the same time, kind of worried about how good all their drafts are. So we'll have to see. But yeah, that's going to be our roster. If you did enjoy the video, then please do leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of this season, as well as BBR playoffs. I think the semi-final goes up tomorrow, so make sure to check that out. And until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.